All right. Kristen, we are back.
Yeah, we're back.
With the Kerosene Drifters. We have Dana and we have Korey. Are you going to tell us your last name too? Or you keep that secret?
Manuel.
Manuel.
Chavez.
Yep.
All right. You put on such a fabulous musical production
It was
tonight.
great.
Thank you.
Really, really enjoyed it. And you told us during the show that you're both married.
To each other.
To each other.
Well, of course.
That's,
yeah.
that's what I mean.
And I think it's great because, there's not a whole lot of married couples that perform together. Randy and I are one that do, and then you guys, and we have some others. But it really, for me, and I'm sure for you, it's just a joy to collaborate together and come up with ideas and create our musical children, So how did you guys meet? That's probably a good place to start.
We met, I was working in foster care and adoptions at the time, and I had moved down to San Antonio for a job. My boss just so happened to be his aunt. And so I was lonely in a new city. I joined a rock band, and so I had already, working in foster care and adoptions, and then on the millisecond of free time that I had, was playing in a rock band. And his aunt was like, I have a nephew that you should meet. Mm-hmm. And we all went out to lunch with Korey and his cousin Gally. And man, it was a while still before we started dating, though.
Right.
So
There was some transitions happening in my life at the time. I was going through divorce. And so, I wasn't ready to jump into something right away.
Sure.
But there was an obvious connection there, immediately. And, we hit it off right away. But we both understood that there needed to be some time to go by before we started dating and whatnot, So I guess it was probably about 4, 5, 6 months later when we started seeing each other. And kind of haven't looked back since.
Yeah.
So
before you were dating, did you meet under the guise of, hey, she's a singer and a bass player and you're a singer and a musician and you both write songs and let's play together and see if this works?
I don't know if there was any intention as specifically. It was just kind of like my aunt knew how great Dana was, and and we were the same age and had a lot of same interest, and so it's just kind of a friendly connection, I think.
Yeah.
To begin with, is where it started, and that is the basis of our relationship, anyways. I mean, I know it's cliche, but we truly are best friends, and
it's important.
We have to be because we spend almost every waking moment together because we live together, we work together, we play together, so.
Yeah.
travel long
So
distances.
is your music your full-time jobs or do you, yes. Okay.
Yep. This is what we do, and we travel quite extensively. Definitely across the state of Texas a lot, but we will travel anywhere, and we have.
Yeah.
But we have in the past. But we love it. We're blessed to get to do this.
And I've been in many bands in the past, and there's a strain when you go on the road and your significant other is back home, but we don't have that because we're always together.
Yeah.
So home is wherever we are, at that moment. And we kind of jokingly say that we live in our Chevy Traverse. So.
But we kind of do.
Yeah.
At least 2 weeks out of the month.
Well, I'm gonna separate you two now. Yeah, just in
Like the
speaking
newlywed game?
No, I'm not going to make you leave or anything. You can stay there. But I'm going to direct the question to her, and basically I'm going to ask you the same question. Tell me a little bit about where you grew up and just, a little bit of your history and what brought you to writing and playing music and singing.
Man. So I was born in Wichita, Kansas, grew up in Durant, Oklahoma, and then got to Texas as soon, pretty much during college. And I actually graduated from TWU. I was always in music. My family is in music. really both sides, but especially my dad's side. They all play guitars. They all sing. Their harmonies are just the most incredible thing you've ever heard in your life. And that's where I love the blood harmonies, the stacked harmonies come from, you know. So growing up, I always wanted to play and sing and dance and, you know, all of the artistic things above. So I did. I studied music in college for several years and then decided at the last minute to get a degree in psychology for some odd reason.
Hey, it's the paper. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to use it, but you got the degree.
I
That's
do,
what's important, right?
Yeah, and worked in adoptions and foster care for a while, and that was at the point where I knew I wanted to get back into music. That's what was missing. So I actually answered a Craigslist ad, much to my mother's dismay, and she feared for my life after that. And that somebody needed a lead singer for a rock band. I was really trying to find, a concert band or something, because I played clarinet and sax also.
Oh, really? Okay.
And,
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's what I used to play, you know, and so that's what I was trying to find. But I'm like, I could sing in a rock band, sure, let's do that. And that's kind of where everything took off, you know.
Yeah.
And after once Korey and I got together and we started. It was a while before we decided to really play together, you know, because he had his band, I had my band, and a full-time job.
Right.
And so finally we were like, we need to do this together. And I quit my job. Right. I quit my job. We started pounding the pavement as hard as we could, and then came along, Have a Little Faith, and like, well, you know, we need to be writing our own material.
Yeah.
And so it really has been a constant just wherever we can find the inspiration to write something, whenever you hear it, whenever, you know, you wake up with a song in your head or somebody says something, you're like, that's right there, that's a song, I can hear it in my head. And so it really does. And we understand when that moment comes, you know, you put everything down and you get it down however you possibly can.
Right.
You record it, you write it, whatever, because it's going to be gone. The muse is gone as soon as she comes. So
we all get that one.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
So we get it down as soon as possible, and we understand that, you know.
Yeah. Same to you, Korey.
My turn?
Your turn.
Okay. I was born in New Braunfels, Texas, and I've lived most of my life in San Antonio, off and on. I move away, and then I come back, and I move away, and they pull me back in. And I have a lot of family based out of San Antonio on both sides, my mom and my dad's side. And so I've got music on both sides of my family. My mom's grandma was a piano teacher in Kansas, and my grandma on my mom's side played the viola and piano. And then on my dad's side, my grandpa was a Baptist preacher, and so all of his kids grew up singing Southern gospel as a family, and they all played an instrument, so they went on the road, and my grandma played piano, and she still does really, really well. And all the kids played an instrument and sang. And so my dad, when I was growing up, was playing he was playing bass guitar in a country band. And so, you know, my parents split up when I was real young, when I was about 2, and my mom remarried and my dad remarried and, you know, went their separate ways. And so when I would visit my dad, I would go when it was kid friendly and go get to see the band play and everything. Right. And I was just drawn to music real early on, and I picked up the guitar seriously when I was 12. I say seriously because when I was about 8 or 9, I sat down and learned some riffs, and then my dad tried to make me play scales, and it like freaked me out and scared me off.
Scales is an 8-year-old, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want to do this. I just want to play Smoke on the Water. So I set it down for a couple years, and then I picked it back up when I was about 12, and that's when I kind of it became my thing.
Right.
And then my dad was like, you know, giving me my space. So I would ask questions, and he'd be like, "Are you sure?" Because we went through this last time. So, and then you know, he taught me all the basics on the guitar, and he plays guitar and piano and bass, and he played in band baritone in high school and stuff. So he's a well-seasoned musician. And so then he sent me out to some teachers and got me some lessons along the way and stuff like that. So over the years, I mean, I've been kind of a sideman to rock bands. I've played in heavy metal bands. I've played in Christian bands. I've played in country bands. I've played in reggae bands. I've played in parade bands. I mean, you name it, I've done it.
Just a jack of all music.
Well, I mean, I just love music, and I'm willing to play with anyone and everyone, but I guess my point is I never really had a direction or a specific focus until I met her. And it wasn't even right away, like she said. I mean, it was about a year and a half or so before we started playing together. And once we started to build that chemistry and then start writing together and then figure out how to write together and bring things to the table. And I typically bring music to her, and she typically brings lyrics and melody to me, or it just depends on the song and how it works itself out. But once we figured out how to work as a team, and that's when like the focus and the direction came into play. And I feel the happiest and most fulfilled musically and that I ever have, because we've got some purpose and some direction and some focus,
Yeah.
So.
And y'all sound great.
Yeah, you really do.
We got lucky.
Yeah. So you say you travel quite a bit and are on the road. What types of venues do you guys hit up?
We are just now starting to understand the listening room venue, and I love this concept. So typically what we have done in the past is, bars, clubs, that sort of thing, where it's party, it's, and you are the party. So, and we play, we'll play our originals, we sneak them in everywhere that we possibly can. So whenever we do that sort of a scene, we do play covers, but we play covers in our own manner. And because you got to go where the money is right now.
Right.
Exactly.
But obviously the ultimate goal is to play our music, be playing, festivals, stages, opening, and doing our stuff. So.
So what made you decide on relocating to Sherman?
Man.
Yeah, what was it?
A couple, I know.
Here's
I know.
Korey's
He's
like, San
"Tell me."
Antonio's calling.
Tell me again. It was really a couple of things. One, we discussed earlier my grandfather passing a couple years back. And that made me realize that I had been away from my family for a good 9 years, almost 10 years. And that's a long time, and I missed my little sisters growing up. Not only do I have a 33-year-old sister, but I also have an 18, 17, and just turned 15-year-old sisters, and I missed 9 years of that.
Yeah.
And those are the best, those are formidable years right there. And so it was time to come home, so that's one part of it. It was just time to come home. The second part of it was San Antonio. I love, that is my home away from home. And every time we go back, I do feel like I'm going home. We have so many friends and family there. But I feel like we kind of hit a ceiling, because it's a lot of heavy metal, it's a lot of country, and it's a lot of Tejano, which is amazing because you get a lot of different parts of music and a lot of different styles, and the musicians there are fabulous.
Right.
But we're not any of that. We kind of have our own brand of music. We call it drifter rock. I don't know where we fit in. And so we felt like the Dallas area might be a better fit for our type of music, one, and two, we have animals. We can have family help take care of animals when we're on the road, so that was a big part of it also.
Right.
It was a challenge, I mean, Have a Little Faith is our first song, and it took a lot of faith to just pack everything up and move and start over. You know?
Incredible leap of faith just to blindly
Are
jump.
you glad you did it?
Absolutely.
We are.
Yeah.
And we've met a lot of really great people, and we've I think moving was a big step, and then after that we've allowed ourselves to take some chances that we probably wouldn't have otherwise, or we may not have, because we overlooked some opportunities in the past just because we didn't feel like they were right for us. But we're kind of trying to just walk through doors and see what happens.
Sure.
You know, because you just never know who you might meet, and the networking and the things, you know, that come with that. So one of the things that we did was we entered this Dream Night talent search in April, and it's totally out of our wheelhouse. We've never done talent shows or anything like that before, and we got runner-up. So
oh wow,
that's great.
You know,
awesome.
Came with a little check and some notoriety, but in the meantime, we met some really great people doing that show. Some of the judges have been really great sounding boards and networking opportunities for us, and helped us, you know, figure out how to get our music sync licensed and things like that. So, so just by taking that step and doing that and putting ourselves out there, it gave us some new things that we wouldn't have experienced otherwise.
Yeah,
so.
no, I think that's great.
It is great, yeah. So do any of your family play music? I know you said your family had music in it, but what about you?
Not professionally, but my dad's side of the family, like my dad and his sisters all play guitar and sing. And that was kind of their thing. Whenever we would get together for family gatherings, everybody would have a guitar in their hand, and it would just be a one big circle, and they would all be singing. I mean, and like I said, the harmonies were incredible. So, I mean, I remember being in the middle, you know, either dancing or trying to grab a guitar and play. Or so, yeah, they're really my dad's side of the family is the one who mainly plays and sings.
Yeah. Other than the family background of music, which artist would you say was most influential for you and for you?
It's always hard trying to determine which one that is, you know, as musicians. I'd say my favorite overall would be Dave Matthews. Just his vocals, his songwriting, his presence on stage is incredible, and just him as a person, like I really feel like you can just see who that is, you know. His soul shines through. My very favorite first band ever was Aerosmith.
Yes, give me some Steven Tyler.
Exactly. And I think, see, right, the scarves, and I think that's where like the voice, like the screaming, all that comes from. And I was so mad at my mom for not letting me go to an Aerosmith concert in the third grade. Right?
She was in third grade.
Hey, I saw Elvis in 5th grade. Oh, wow.
I got to see him as a freshman, so it's all good.
Oh, good. What about you,
My
Korey?
favorite artist changes every 6 months.
Yeah.
But I guess some of the earliest ones as far as guitar, Stevie Ray Vaughan is probably
Yes.
my earliest real love as far as a guitarist. Jimi Hendrix, of course, and the Beatles have been huge in times of my life. Phil Keaggy is probably my favorite guitar player.
He's
throughout
amazing.
the years. He is an incredible electric player, but he's primarily known for his acoustic playing, and he does a lot of loops and stuff, which is kind of what inspires me to do some of the loop stuff I do. Not that I'm in any way in his league, because he's incredible, but he's my favorite guitar player. And Dave Matthews is a big connection with the two of us, because Dave Matthews was a huge influence in my playing as well. And some of the hardest songs I've ever learned to play and sing at the same time are Dave Matthews songs.
Really?
And and then my latest obsession has been Elton John. I don't know why. It just kind of actually I do know why. My dad was in a band with these two brothers, and One of them just passed away. He died of cancer in July. And he was one of my biggest influences on guitar because he was in my dad's band growing up.
Right.
And his brother, we were having a party at their house before Norman passed. And his brother sat down on the keyboard and played this Elton John song called Talking Old Soldiers. And it's one that I never heard before because it's like a deep cut. And it's on one of his early albums. I forget which one. I think it was Tumbleweed Connection. Anyhow, it's an amazing song. And so I got like into Elton John and like started like reading about him, and he's been like my obsession for about 3 or 4 months.
He's very talented,
now.
yeah.
And then I saw that Rocket Man movie and I cried my eyes out. It was
See, I
so
haven't
good.
seen it yet.
Oh, it was amazing.
Well,
Yeah, he's amazing live. I got to see him in concert a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, he's coming back.
I got to
too.
see him years ago before I appreciated it.
yeah.
But it was in L.A. I was there for the NAMM convention, and they were giving Elton a Lifetime Achievement Award. Yamaha, I believe it was. And so they had an all-star cast that played with Elton's band. So, like, they would bring up different artists. So I got to see Ray Charles, Brian Wilson, some of the guys from Boyz II Men, Nika Costa, Brian McKnight, on and on and on. And they each did a song with Elton's band, an Elton John song.
Oh, and
then Elton did an hour-long set after that. And then the whole group came out and did Crocodile Rock at the end together. It was cool.
Oh boy, that's a
sounds
nice
great.
not to ever forget.
I know.
Wow, that's an
It
experience.
was before cell phone cameras and stuff,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So
You just had the big lighters.
I just had to remember it, you know.
Just remember. You said,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, wow. That's awesome. Well, I'll tell you, you guys have been fabulous, and I'm quite certain that Randy is working on getting you in sometime next year to do a studio concert, because
We'd love to.
I know that, y'all fill this room up, no doubt about it.
you guys are fabulous. This room is amazing, and what you're doing for musicians and how long you've been doing it is incredible. And it's it's
Well,
really special.
I mean, just think how blessed we are. This is where we live too. So we have all these fantastic musicians and people that come and play for us and our friends, and we're the blessed ones, really.
The incredible energy in the room. It's amazing.
Well, I look forward to next year, and you guys, I'm quite certain will be in here. And in the meantime, I would love for everybody that's listened to this interview tonight to keep on coming back and listening, get to know these wonderful people and artists that we do bring in on a regular basis, not only know their music, but them too. I want to thank Kristen tonight for being my co-host and partner in crime. She's headed out to Colorado tomorrow, so she's touring as well.
Nice.
Anyhow,
travels.
yes. It's been a great evening. Thank you, everybody. You are in the music room.